Good evening, and sorry for the delay. My name is Vincent Flores. I'm an Education USA advisor at the Fulbright Commission in Seoul, and we want to welcome you to this session. Briefly about Education USA, we are a U.S. State Department-sponsored organization that offers accurate, comprehensive, and current information about studying in the United States to international students. So if you are interested in studying in America, please contact us. Our contact information, email address, Facebook pages, and all of that information will be available to you right after this. So without further ado, our guest from Northern State University.
Hello, I'm Dr. John Peterson from Northern State University in Aberdeen, South Dakota. I'm over here teaching at a university and had spare time, and Vincent asked if I could come down and talk about admission into United States universities as well as internship programs. I have a colleague here, Stacy Schmidt, who will be assisting in this, and now we're going to have her introduce herself.
Hello, as Dr. Peterson mentioned, I'm Stacy Schmidt, and I'm the International Student Advisor at Northern State University in Aberdeen, South Dakota. And I'm here to help out answer some questions about coming to the United States and possible internships. So we are here to answer questions, so go ahead and feel free to ask us anything that you want.
All right, we have a question from the audience. All right, the question is, as a Korean student studying in the United States, what would be a possibility or option or path to doing an internship? There is a path for that I'm going to have Stacy Schmidt explain because she is more knowledgeable about the program.
The first thing you need to do is you need to probably contact your faculty advisor at your university and make sure that you're following the rules of the university for getting an internship. Sometimes you need to be a certain level of age. You need to be maybe a junior level standing. As far as immigration purpose goes, you must be in the United States for at least 1 year to be able to qualify for what is called an internship, which is curricular practical training. So you'll hear the term CPT a lot, and that means curricular practical training. And so once you found the internship in your field of study, it must be in your field of study, so it can't be something, if you are a business major, you can't be out working at McDonald's or selling shoes somewhere or something. It has to be related to your major. I guess selling shoes could be related to your major, but it has to be approved by your advisor and also in your major. And when you found that internship, you need to follow the rules of your program at your school and contact your international advisor, as myself, and on your immigration documents, and this is for F1 students. You're an F1 student, right? You would fill out your appropriate paperwork, and you would be granted curricular practical training on your I-20. And so on your I-20, it would show on the back page that you are eligible to work. And then you are able to go get your social security number and be able and go and work for a company. Most internships, I would recommend that you get paid for them. Companies now, I think in business, and Dr. Peterson might be more, have more knowledge about businesses and the companies, but I would recommend not taking an internship that you're not getting paid for. There are labor laws that allow international students to not be treated, unfairly as far as students, American students doing the same job as you are, and you may be not getting paid for that. So you have to be careful and make sure that you're not being taken advantage of for that. The curricular practical training, you can do 12 months of part-time, so you can work 20 hours a week for that. If you go over the 12 months of part-time, then you are unable to go on and do your OPT, which is what happens after you graduate. So does that help answer some of those questions about an internship? Okay. Maybe Dr. Peterson can talk to you more about what types of internships you can get and where.
Now, with the ability to do the CPT, it is meant for you to have a track or path to get experience during school. Now this is during your education. As Stacy was stating, there is a second category which will allow you to work upon degree completion, which is a separate category, which was at OPT, and you have a limited block of time, and you do not want to use it up for the first category because you might want to have the ability to work with the employer, because many employers these days like to sometimes do a post-graduation internship, which is in essence an opportunity for you to deal with the employer and so forth to find out the fit. But your time clock is limited to one 24-month. I'll let Stacy explain the OPT side before I get off track.
Internships working is probably the most difficult immigration rule that there is. And I have a long PowerPoint that I usually give to students, and then it's still hard to understand. But once you've gone over the 12 months of working CPT part-time, then it cuts into your OPT time. So
You want to explain OPT?
OPT is the practical training that you get after you graduate. And that means that after you've graduated from the university, you can apply for 12 months of OPT. And that's working with a company, once again related to your major, and then you work with that company for 1 full year. And so up to 1 full year. So when you're looking for an internship, I try to tell my students, if you're looking for an internship, look for an internship that company is possibly going to hire you on for your OPT. And they don't have to sponsor you at that time because OPT is still part of the school curriculum. You're still on your F1 visa. They're not sponsoring you. So when you're looking for your internship, think very carefully about where you're going to go, because you want to get into a company that will possibly hire you on after you've graduated. Yeah. So you don't want to take an internship at a small company that only wants you there part-time just to work, and then when you graduated they say goodbye, I don't care where you go. So think carefully where you do your internship at. Okay? Does that make sense? Yeah, and your international advisor at your university should be able to answer those questions as far as immigration rules on. Yes. If you have an international advisor, they should be able to answer that for you. So now, finding those internships, I would say if you have a career office on your campus or a career development in your business department, that's where I'm thinking maybe you might have a better idea of where where other ideas of finding an internship.
Yes. As far as finding internships, it's like students stateside. It takes time and effort. You must do your due diligence. Go look at what employers are visiting your university, what opportunities which match your interests, and so forth. And there's always sessions going on at universities saying, this company has internship opportunities. You need to be going to those sessions to find out what skills, locations they're looking for before the time period that you're looking for that. At our university, we strongly encourage during your second year of college to be actively having your resume updated and attending these information sessions so that you're ready for the internship going into your junior and senior years. And that is a policy of the School of Business where you're at, what policies, strategies of their placement office. Now, most likely we should be able to embed Stacy's PowerPoint on internships into this. Maybe at the end?
We also have one on our Education USA YouTube channel.
Yeah, we should be able to create and show that presentation at that point. It was our understanding this was more of a Q&A, so we didn't want more people with PowerPoint up front.
I would say go to as many, online, but I would go to as many campus visit sites or visit companies, even if you're not interested in them in particular, but go for the experience to do your interviewing, and also probably go to your career center to practice your interview skills, and work on your resume, make sure that your resume is ready. You can also probably go to job fairs. We know we take students to job fairs. I know there's some large job fairs in larger cities. That would be a good place to probably look for internships. And just make sure your resume is ready to go, and dressing appropriately, of course, is always, that's probably another session on getting a job, but the whole thing ties together when it comes to getting an internship, and it doesn't hurt to start early and do as much practicing as you can. So, Any other questions?
I actually have one. So, if I get an internship, is that beneficial to go to graduate students when it's school after an internship?
If you have the internship,
Okay, this is
you
more
can
mine.
probably answer that one, yeah.
There's a split decision of some employers would rather have you have work experience before going on to graduate school, because many MBA programs expect that you are knowledgeable, have 3 to 5 years of finance experience and so forth before getting into the MBA program that you're looking at. And so in those cases, you need to have worked either, and this is in addition to your internships after graduation, they want that. Other programs are looking for students who have just graduated and go directly into the graduate program. So you need to look to see what the admissions policy and standard is of that school that you're looking at. Some will allow freshmen to come in, or recent graduates come in. Others will require 3 to 5 years of experience. One of the major differences, programs that want to experience scholarship aspects, your employer might be then paying for your graduate school, versus if you go directly, that may still continue to come out of your pocket. And it is also what your goal and career aspirations are. Are you looking at just starting to work and so forth, or are you looking at getting onto a doctorate program, or are you just wanting more schooling right away? And again, different universities have different thoughts of the level of work experience that's needed before starting. And you, again, look at what that program is looking at for that.
And to add to that, your OPT that you get after graduation, for every level of degree that you get at a university, you get 1 year of practical training. So after your bachelor's degree, you get 1 year of OPT. And then you can go on to your master's degree, and then you get another year of OPT after that, and the same with your PhD program. So they are allowing you that 1 year of practical training in between doing that. You will lose that if you go right into your master's program. So if you go from your bachelor's program right into your master's, you lose your bachelor's OPT. Does that make sense? So then after you finish your master's program, you would get your OPT. So they are allowing you that gap in there to work if you want to and have that training, but you don't have to, obviously. So, yeah.
Dave Moore?
I have a question. If you have the option to, is it better to try and get multiple internships that have a more diverse portfolio of experiences, or would it be better to invest in a single internship where you get a certain type of experience and invest in career opportunities through that way?
That's a good question.
The question is, how focused should your internship be? And the idea is, if you have a student who has multiple internships, gets exposed to more corporations and gets the ability to get a better fit. And so if you work with Cargill Corporation 1 year, you find out, do you like their culture? Do you like the ability to advance? If you enjoy it, you could do another internship with Cargill the next year. If on the other hand, you did not like that experience, by having done an internship early enough in your program, you could now look for a second corporation that might be a better fit. And it's better to take internships earlier and be exposed to multiple firms, or if you've enjoyed one company, extending on with it, and to dig deeper into what your interests are. Did I answer your question?
Yeah. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions? Yes, another question from the audience.
So we have a lot of students that are interested in studying business in the United States, or from Korea, but studying in the United States, and a lot of them are not really sure where they'll concentrate. They just say, I'm going to study business. So I don't think they have a solid concept about that. So can you talk about what you would recommend for students who just say, I want to study business, but don't really know what that involves?
All right, the question is, what does it mean to study the topic business in the United States? Most students walking onto a campus think business is all the same. And what happens during your time, your first, second year, you get exposed to the various functional areas that generally you're not having to declare the moment you step on campus that I'm going to be an accounting major, I'm going to be a marketing major. But over the first 2 years, you get exposed to different courses and you get a better understanding by listening to speakers coming to campus, different companies coming to campus, of what marketing does mean. And so you can then choose at that point. Rarely are you committed the moment you step on campus. But you are allowed to, you take that first accounting course and you love it, you can switch to being an accounting major. You're not in a single track from day one. Generally, it's sometime between the 3rd and 5th semesters, you better have decided to get done. And some students make the decision earlier, some could be later. And what is also an option is the ability to add a second major, of having, in addition to finance, adding an accounting concentration. As you've learned, I'm having to take so much accounting, I might as well take a little bit more, and so forth. You've taken a marketing course and say, how can I tie that in with the accounting, and so forth. So you're not committed from day one into a track of a particular major, but some time along the way. Now, you do not want to wait until your 7th or 8th semester and keep changing majors, because your parents' money will run out sooner or later.
I have something to add to that too. I think that I know when students say they're studying business, I've seen business with a different name after it. You know, tons of majors that business economics, business finance, and I think that it's probably important to find out from the university or talk to the university that you're maybe looking at, and tell them your interests. Say you're interested in opening a restaurant. So you may want to find out if they have a hospitality management program. So I think that that is important to discuss your interests with them, because business is so broad. There's so many different areas. Visiting universities today, I saw so many different areas of business, and I think I can see where students get very confused and don't know which area they want to go into. So finding out, maybe, you know, talking to the school and finding out what your interests are will have them help you decide which area of business that you want to go into. So that's my advice.
Do we answer your question?
Yeah.
Thank you.
I get a lot of undergrads that are interested in business, want to know what makes them competitive as applicants in both situations. I imagine it's somewhat different. So could you talk about that? Because a lot of the undergrads are very worried about studying business.
Now, when you're talking about students who are in baccalaureate programs right now,
But who would like to get into that?
okay, getting into a baccalaureate program, a key to employability is making yourself saleable. You have to bring in a skill set that the employers are wanting, and you can distinguish yourself in many ways. That just if you do an activity or something that is not the typical path. If you go to a university, a small liberal arts school where all the students are studying abroad does not distinguish you. So you have to do activities and so forth that employers will notice and that bring out your strengths. That just being a member of a club is not critical. Is you need to be active in the ball, because the interview process has gone to behavioral interviews, where they'll ask you, tell me a time where you've been in a stressful situation and how did you handle that? And you have the potential employee, they'll sometimes talk about an organized team activity where there's a dispute with some other player. How did they resolve that? It could be when they're in a work situation and how they solve that. It could be discussing a situation with your roommate. And the employers, like I was saying, that behavioral, they are wanting to find out how you think. It's not so critical what your GPA numbers are and so forth and transcripts. They can read that. They're now interviewing you behaviorally of asking certain questions. And you need to be able to answer those and been exposed to those. Stacy, anything to that?
Oh, I think that's great. Just being active and involved in different things. One other thing that we probably promote on our university campus is a lot of volunteering. We find that a lot of our businesses, the companies, are very interested in volunteering activities that students do, and making sure that you get recognition for volunteering that you do while you're in the United States. I think that's important. We found that even a certificate that shows you're volunteering to go in with your resume is often helpful. So.
And why that certificate and so forth is important is that you'll have something on there. I interviewed with Salvation Army. Well, now there's something for the interviewer to ask you about. Say, what did you do there? And if you said, I just showed up. But if you could explain, yes, I organized a food drive to help out this thing, and they can now understand from you, you had leadership skills, you had organizational skills, and that's why those volunteer activities, they're going to ask you, what did you get from that and why, and what traits does the employer see that you just brought? And that's why if you have it on your resume of doing these activities, they have now something to ask you about. Any other questions from the audience?
Is there anything in particular that grad students should know about to make them competitive as potential prospective grad students, to make them competitive as applicants for a business program?
It is many of the similar traits for graduate school as admission into undergraduate, that they're going to be wanting to find out what skills, depending upon the nature of the graduate program. Is it one that is more focused with somebody having 3 to 5 years of work experience? Are there other ones that are driven, they want you to go through directly? So it's critical to know the nature of the graduate program, what type of skills they're wanting you in admissions, is that varies across the programs. And from my experience, that MBA programs are different than getting a master's in economics out of school. They're both housed in the same area. Their traits and admission standards are different and so forth. So be looking at what the typical student comes in with is what type of GPA number they have, what type of GMAT score, what type of work experience category, and so forth. And the volunteerism, because it's a package that's coming in and not just your classroom activities that they're looking, or your classroom performance. They're looking for a more well-rounded individual than what it was 20, 30 years ago.
I have one thing I can add to that. I think one big thing in applying for graduate schools is the recommendations that you have to submit. And I think what I've seen from students is I get a lot of students asking me for recommendations. And I am listed as an international student advisor, which is great, and I'm more than willing to do a recommendation for the student. But I think the students, I tell them, think very carefully of who you're getting your recommendation from, and possibly ahead of time work with a professor so that professor does know you, so that when you are ready to apply for graduate school, they are writing a heartfelt recommendation for you and not just one that is a name changed on a letter. So I think that that's my biggest recommendation for graduate programs, because I don't deal with that, but you know, making sure that you have a recommendation from someone that is really writing about you and what you've done. And you may need to give that professor or employer or something, some information about you to help them with that letter. But be prepared for that. Don't just ask anyone off of the street that knows you to write you a recommendation letter. So that's my advice.
Yeah, Stacy brought up a great point. Graduate school, the difference between that and the undergraduate admissions are the recommendation letters are coming, and having a professor or two that do understand you, they remember you and they know the traits about you to be speaking of. And if you just sat there quietly and so forth, it's more difficult for the professor to remember and know what to stress about you. So having been involved with faculty is what the graduate schools are looking for, more than, as Stacy said, yeah, she'll write a great reference letter, but she's not on the academic side, which most graduate schools are really looking for. The employer one does add a nice dimension from possibly your time that you did your CPT. Other questions from the audience?
How important is GMAT? Because a lot of students will obsess over it. How important is it?
Your GMAT score is a function of the university you want to be going to and so forth, and the number of that school. There are some universities that are very difficult to get into, and a criteria that they can use to determine differences of students is the GMAT. Then you go to other schools that the lower GMAT score gets in. So you need to know what are your goal aspirations, and therefore what type of GMAT score you possibly will need to get in there. Now, a very high GMAT score may or may not get you in there. A lower GMAT score, if you had other great activities, because graduate schools, similar to undergraduate schools, are trying to look for a more well-rounded individual instead of just strictly book smart. And there's that weighing of the two components. The advantage of the GMAT is numeric, easier to make a decision, but we're trying to expand into other aspects. Anything to add, Stacey? No?
Not very
All right.
with that, so.
Other questions from the audience?
If you could talk a little bit about your school, it would be great.
You want me to start talking about the school? Or do you want to go first and I'll finish it out? Northern State University is a primarily undergraduate school located in Aberdeen, South Dakota. We have 3,000 students mainly in the undergraduate program. We're located 300 miles west of the Twin Cities of Minneapolis, St. Paul. It's a community of about 30,000, which is really nice. I'm studying over here, and when I go on trips and so forth, I don't need to lock my house or my vehicle. Now, Stacy will lock her house and vehicle, but it's a situation, you can be walking around and so forth. You have the ability to interact with your faculty. We have a student to faculty ratio of about 16, and you see we do not use graduate assistants. It's all full-time faculty for this. We structure the program in such a way that it best suits the students and so forth. Many of the students at our university are first-time college attendees from their families and so forth, which is an interesting experience. We have about 10% of the students who are international. About 10% are international students on that. And I'll let Stacy add anything that she's thinking at this point.
We have, as Dr. Peterson said, we have about 200 international students on our campus, and they represent about 25 different countries. And I take a lot of pride in our international program, and it's a goal of our university to internationalize our campus. And I am considered a mother there for our international students. So I love to take care of students from the time that they apply until the time that they graduate. And so we're there to help our students when they arrive at the airport, and we take them to their residence halls, and so we take care of them. Our campus is very small, so students can get active in sporting events, they can get active in music events, and the marching band. We are called the Northern State University Wolves, and we have a lot of activities that go on our campus. Our community is about 30,000, as Dr. Peterson said, and we're in a very safe community, and it does get cold at our university in the wintertime, but we find that a very good time for students to practice their English and to study, and it's a great community. We also offer friendship families for our international students, and they don't live with the families, but they get to spend time with the American family, and so it's a great program, and you get to experience a lot of culture in our community. So we have a wonderful university, and our biggest selling point is probably getting a great education for a very great cost. We're a very great cost school in the Midwest, and we just recommend it highly for anybody. So. Anything else? But our majors, I forgot about that. But
We have the major educational units. We have arts and science, offering the majors across over the history, political science, and so forth. We have a school of education where you can get your training that way. Also the fine arts, and many of the international students are enjoying that because they can be participating in the orchestra, marching band, and so forth, which they can't in the theater as well. And the art side as far as sculpture and so forth. And finally, the fourth unit is the school of business, where we have majors in accounting, finance, marketing, information systems, and so forth. Any other questions from the audience? All right. If not, I'm going to hand this back to Vincent so he can do the closing aspect. And with this, thank you very much for your time. If you do have questions, you can contact USA Education Center here, and they will get you in contact with us at Northern State University, which is northern.edu.
So we want to thank our guests for coming from so far away to help us and talk about studying business and internships. And I also want to remind all of you that information is available at www.educationusa.edu.